that? There we go. There we're on. Thank you all, and welcome to Cindy Corey. Thank you so much for being here. Let's just talk just for a little bit, and I can't quite imagine what it's like for you to have to watch the film. This is obviously not the first time you've seen it, so you kind of have to relive your family tragedy. I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about, first of all, what you think of the film, and what your involvement was, if any, in its production.
Craig and I saw the film for the first time last November. I was invited to a conference in Vienna, and the least expensive plane ticket was through Paris, and my niece was studying there, so we stopped and we gave Simone a call. And she said, the film, all of you who are filmmakers know that there are all these last-minute things to do, but she said basically it was done, and she really wanted us to see it. And so there was a small theater in Paris where we went to see it with a group of her friends. And, to be very honest, the first time we saw it, it was really difficult for us to assess how we felt about it, because we're so close to the story, as close as anybody is, and also so close to a lot of information about the story that we've acquired over now nearly 7 years. We had the opportunity to see the film again at the Tribeca Film Festival in New York. There were 3 screenings in April of this year. And it was really helpful to see it again and to absorb more of what was in it, and to also see how audiences responded to it, and to the questions that they had, because I felt like they picked up on some of the same things that our family has thought about and that are concerns to our family. There are moments in the film that I just think are so amazingly powerful. The interview with Jonathan Pollock at the end. I think when he says that you can resist without hope, but also without despair. To me, that's amazing.
Was there anything in the course of Simone's investigation? Well, first of all, back up. Maybe you can speak, because you've heard her address audiences before. How did she become involved or interested in Rachel's story? And at what point in the process did she contact you to be involved?
It's a good question about when she became. I think she became immediately interested in the story, like a lot of other people that are close to it in Israel. She is an Israeli citizen, also a French citizen. She's lived in Israel since she was a child. And if I'm remembering correctly, she was in Israel near or about the time that Rachel was killed. She had trouble getting our attention. People here probably know that sometimes it's hard to get my attention because I have a lot of email and so forth. And also, I think a really remarkable thing about Rachel's story is that amazing, creative, thoughtful people have taken that story and have needed to find responses to it. And people from all over the world created responses to it. So there's poetry, and there's music, and there's film, and there's theater, and writing. And oftentimes, people reach out to Craig and to me to either share with us what they've done or to ask our approval for what they've done. So there are a lot of things, and there have been requests about films before, and we just, a lot of times, we don't go seeking these things. We're often a little too busy to respond. And when she tried to, she emailed several times, I think, before, and in fact did not get my attention through email. But she had a contact with a filmmaker. She was working with a filmmaker, an Israeli filmmaker, who had gone to school at Evergreen. And that person emailed to Rachel's faculty, one of the people who is in the film, and Michelle, who's also a filmmaker, And it was Anne Fischel who came to us and said, I think this could be a very important film, both because of Simone's stature as a filmmaker and the fact that she is in Israel and would have access to people. And so at that point, then we did establish communication. Simone came to Olympia because a lot of the people that she wanted to speak with either were there or were people that we would be able to provide a connection to her. And she did, she filmed us, as you saw, so we had that experience of her being in Olympia for the filming, but otherwise we had no further input.
And was there anything in the film, once you saw it and once you had a chance to review it again and again, is there anything that particularly surprised you, either of people's testimonies or what Simone uncovered about the incident, or simply in your understanding of what Rachel was doing there?
I think we learned more, even from the people that we had talked to, because we've met now all of the ISMers who were there, and also Laura Gordon, who wasn't there when Rachel was there, but was when Craig and I met in September 2003. And so we had talked with many of those people many times. I think one of the most, difficult things in a way for Craig and me was hearing seeing the difficult testimony from some of the ISMers like Will Hewitt and from Alice, and knowing what they really had to, what their experience was after Rachel was killed, and how, and we asked them to do some things, really even without fully understanding how challenging that would be. It was a terribly challenging time for all of us. But we asked them when Rachel's body was transported from Gaza into Israel that her body not be left alone. So that meant that they needed to accompany her. That meant that Alice and Greg Schnabel were dropped off in the desert to find their way back to Tel Aviv, and you saw what Will had to say. So I think just probably hearing from them some things that they wouldn't want to burden Craig and me with personally, but were able to talk about it. It's very moving.